Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Law of One Spiritual Advice Podcast. My name is El. I come to read two quotes today, one from Quo, one from Ra, because I believe that they complement each other. So the topics today are sort of going to be on desire and focus, or what some may call the law of attraction, seen through the lens of service to others, and sort of talking about desires and the different levels of desires, activating higher desires from the lower ones. And I suppose also something about your incarnational plans. Okay, so before I go into too much, the quote is from Quo, which I will start with, and it is from 2019, May 18th. And it goes like this, beginning of quote. If you seek, you shall find. If you knock at the door of unknowing, it shall be opened to you. As you wish and seek and desire to know that which is your purpose, that is much like the magnetic attraction of the iron filing to the magnet. If you seek with purity, if you seek consciously, if you seek in meditation, if you seek with every fiber of your being, you shall draw unto you that which is yours, that which you have chosen before this incarnation to experience, to grow from, and to share with others as you move through your incarnational pattern. Each of you has prepared yourself with a bounty of riches one may see as the opportunities to grow in a fashion in which is appropriate for you. The life pattern is that which can be discerned in a general fashion by intuition, can be enhanced by intellect, can be magnified by the spirit, can be realized in meditation as you are able to put yourself in the state of one-pointed seeking, so that that which is yours is drawn to you by your desire. Quo, the Law of One, end of quote, 2019, May 18th. All right, so there is quite a few things that we could talk about within the context of that, those few paragraphs. One that we can start with is, if you seek, you shall find. So what they're trying to explain here is desire. What you are asking for in your daily life, what you seek, what, what the reason is for your being. What is it that you exist for? That sort of is the base level of your desire, and that which you desire is your will. If you've ever heard of, say free will, your free will is very important, and your free will is essentially very much connected to your desire. And then I would also explain desire in another word as focus. So it's sort of like what you have your long-term focus on, that is what will be attracted to you, which would just point out that obviously we would have lower desires and higher desires. And so it's not that we're going to necessarily shun the lower desires for the higher desires. What we're going to do is discipline the lower desires and understand and accept them to a point that the higher desires sort of take hold and the lower desires will fall away. As I speak about desire, there would be lower desires and higher desires. I was just mentioning about the lower desires. We're not necessarily wanting to shun them, but what would be a lower desire versus a higher desire? I would sort of have you put your mind in connection with the chakras. Those are basically indication of your desires and which ones may be lower and higher. So starting from the bottom, you have Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, working your way up. Red would be like personal survival, things of that nature, sexual, and then the orange would be personal as well, sort of emotional, how you relate self to self. The yellow chakra would be more communal, societal, how the self relates to other self, along, relationships and things like this. The next one up, the green, would be the heart. That would have to do with, unconditional love and understanding, compassion. You go higher than that. Desire would be, to express through the throat chakra, through the blue chakra, what you've learned essentially in the previous chakras and in the heart. So you basically would hopefully be manifesting love in a wise way, or manifesting love. And then if you were to go to the higher highest sort of desire, I suppose, would be then the indigo, which is like your third eye. That is a desire, I suppose, a desire to serve, a desire to be one, a desire for unity with the Creator. So maybe that just sort of gives you an idea of the level of desires that you may have. And then there's that common conception from a spiritual seeker that, we must put away all our lower desires, and they're human desires, they're not worthy, we must shun them, we must suppress them. To a certain degree, that is somewhat true, but the very word suppression in itself would indicate that is not a positive thing that you would want to do. We don't want to suppress something. We want to learn to accept it and understand it and love it and transform it and allow it to fall away to a higher desire. So with that, I will read you a quote from Ra, session 18.5, and they indicate, quote begins, "The proper role of the entity is in this density to experience all things desired, to then analyze, understand, and accept these experiences, distilling from them love light within them. Nothing shall be overcome. That which is not needed falls away. The orientation develops due to analysis of desire. These desires become more and more distorted towards conscious application of love light as the entity furnishes itself with distilled experience. We have found it to be inappropriate in the extreme to encourage the overcoming of any desires, except to suggest the imagination rather than carrying out in the physical plane, as you call it, of those desires, not consonant with the law of one, this preserving the primal distortion of free will. The reason it is unwise to overcome is that overcoming is an unbalanced action, creating difficulties in balancing in the time-space continuum. Overcoming thus creates the further environment for holding on to that which apparently has been overcome. All things are acceptable in the proper time for each entity, and in experiencing, in understanding, in accepting, in then sharing with other selves, the appropriate description shall be moving away from distortions of one kind to distortions of another, which may be more consonant with the law of one. It is, shall we say, a shortcut to simply ignore or overcome any desire. It must be instead understood and accepted. This takes patience and experience, which can be analyzed with care, with compassion for self and for other self." End of quote. Right? So this is me speaking again. Back to what I was basically explaining is, you don't want to overcome the desire. You instead analyze the desire, see that it comes from maybe a lower place within you, accept and understand it so that the desire then essentially falls away. Once you experience a certain desire, generally speaking, you don't necessarily just repeat the behavior over and over and over again if you're at least attempting to learn something, right? You desire something, you learn, and then you maybe desire something different, and you move on. So as you move from the lower desires to the higher desires, it should just be a natural progression. That's what they're saying here. First of all, they're saying you should experience all desires, and if they're not consonant with the law of one, meaning, it maybe infringes on someone's free will, it doesn't seem to be in love and compassion for some other self, then they suggest carrying that action or that story out or that desire out in your mind. So you just play it out in your imagination, see how it feels. That's still you experiencing the desire. You may not have to do it necessarily in the physical. And because we are on the path of service to others, the service to others naturally is going to be a path of acceptance. So we don't want to control and dominate our personality into submission. We need to accept, understand, and love it, and thus transform it. And I feel like I say that over and over again in all these podcasts, but obviously it is somewhat of a good truth, so good things should be repeated. Okay, so back to the quote. They are saying here, If you seek with purity, if you seek consciously, if you seek in meditation, if you seek with every fiber of your being, you shall draw unto you that which is yours, that which you have chosen before this incarnation to experience, to grow and to share with others as you move through the incarnational pattern. Okay, so with that, you would sort of have to be under the understanding that you as a spirit come into this third density with an incarnational plan. You should somewhat trust that plan. You should trust in the Creator, trust in your higher self that they and you have plotted out the proper lessons that you need to learn for the proper evolution of your spirit. That which is before you shall contain all those lessons. It's not that you necessarily, you do need to seek it if your desire seeks it, but whatever is in front of you is to do with the lessons of your incarnation. Your incarnational plan may not seem very fancy and awesome, but if you understand that the nature of service to others is just to serve, and that everything is the Creator, everything around you, everything that exists is the Creator, so it's just Creator interacting with Creator, then you can understand the simplicity of an incarnation. It doesn't have to be necessarily a big hero story like you see in the movies. It can just be that you have come here to learn a certain set of lessons, and you are here learning those lessons over and over again. And what do those lessons have to do with? Well, generally they're going to have to do with love, with choice. First of all, we're in the density of choice, which is you choose to serve others or serve the self, and then once you've made that choice, you do that with love. Both of the paths are still paths of love. One is love of self, one is love of self and other self. One, in my opinion, solves the paradox, and one is the path that is not. So in accepting this service to others mentality, you somewhat are able to see through the lens of service to others, which gives you a perspective on the experience that you have. You don't need to. This is the law of attraction. You don't necessarily need to do anything. It's just that once you have purified your desire and your focus to point the compass in the right direction, per se, or as they were saying here, to have single-pointed focus. That single-pointed focus is your desire. My single-pointed focus is I'm here to serve. The more that desire is strengthened, and the more that focus is thought about and meditated upon and doubled upon and brick stacked upon brick, I believe that is where my power comes from. If you want to say that I have power of some sort, that's where synchronicity happens. That's where manifestation takes place. Your desire to serve in whatever purity it is, whatever needs to take place in the incarnation, in the illusion, in the physical world, will modify and change in order to satisfy your incarnational plan and your desire. It's just maybe your lack of imagination or your lack of faith in the process which will sometimes hold that from you. And I would say that I myself have done that a lot. I basically, the more I trust in the plan, the more that I have faith, the more that I, as they say, like the fool, take the step off of the cliff faithfully. And just as I feel I'm about to lose footing, right there is the Creator holding my next step. That, to me, is the nature of this seeking, is the nature of the power, but it's that the power of the manifestation and the path of service to others, it has power to it, but it can't be experienced without first taking that step. I suppose another way to say it is fake it till you make it, in a way, or you just sort of have to trust that things are as that, and you'll see how the illusion will put itself together in that way. I guess I'm going a little bit off of topic in that, I'm sort of getting off on the wrong direction. But if your focus is on service to others, I would say that is the focus of a higher desire. That is your higher desire. you have the desire to serve others, but at the same time you'll have a lower desire of human things, and you should have those too. So you don't need to berate yourself and hate on yourself when you have your human desires. Experience the human desires and the lower things that you need to do, and distill love and light from them, and notice what serves and what doesn't. And basically, as you do that, the things that don't serve, and as you analyze and understand and accept them, they'll just naturally fall away. You'll find that one day, maybe, I don't know, for me, for example, I just didn't want to drink alcohol anymore. I don't know, it used to be sort of a part of my life for some time. And here I was finding that, I don't want anything to do with that anymore. So it wasn't necessarily that I had to make a huge effort per se. It was just the long journey of acceptance and actually somewhat experiencing that desire and then just getting over it. It was like, I don't need this anymore. And just to wrap up, we'll just reread that last paragraph here from Quo. They say, the life pattern is that which can be discerned in a general fashion by intuition, can be enhanced by the intellect, can be magnified by the spirit, can be realized in meditation. I really like that part. You can, let's just break it down here. So intuition can be enhanced by intellect. So this is where, you don't want to put intellect or intuition one above the other. They are good to balance each other. You should have intuition informing your intellect and not necessarily your intellect trying to take over, because we, being human and mind creatures, we kind of have a natural tendency to do that. So if you have your intuition informing your intellect, that is good, and that can be magnified by the spirit. What they mean by that, I don't even really completely know, I would just admit, and can be realized in meditation as you're able to pull yourself in a state of one-pointed seeking. So all these lessons that we learned, they basically need to sink into our being in order for the desire to purify and for things to fall away. So although we may seek to learn things in our daily life, we should also be sitting down for some sort of meditation, contemplation, having time for silence, basically let the lessons of the day sink into the right places, within the energy body, wherever they need to be. Within you doing that is how you eventually bring all your catalyst and all your seeking and all your power into a one-pointed seeking, which would, in my opinion, be a higher desire, which is a realization of oneness of all with the Creator, which would be a desire to serve, a desire to love, a desire to share that love with others, because that is the nature of the Creator, abundance and love and compassion and joy. And so as we just naturally become the Creator, we will want to have these desires and share, and as I share with others, it gives meaning to myself. Paradox resolved. I no longer need to serve myself at the expense of others. I can serve others, which serves myself. Everybody gets to benefit from the equation. Okay, so that's good for today. I hope that you guys gained something from this. If you need links to this material, I have a website, theoneinfinitecreator.com. There are links to all of this information for free, to the Quo material, which are transcripts, and to the raw material, which are separate transcripts. And yeah, you can also support me on there. If you like what I do here, I would always appreciate. I just got a new Patreon subscriber. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the love, and it always helps, especially around winter times and everything. So thanks everybody. I hope you have a good rest of the week, and I'll be back Friday for another podcast on some Law of One musings. Love you guys. Bye.